There is an ocean of everything you want: success, power, and the most satisfying relationships. It's all available and waiting for you. This is The Zone of Action with your host, Gerald Action Jackson.
Today's podcast is about why high-value individuals walk away from undisciplined men. Why high-value individuals walk away from undisciplined men. If he can't control his desires, he can't be trusted with your money. High-value individuals understand the cost of self-control. Throughout history, the difference between people who build lasting success and those who lose everything often comes down to one powerful trait: self-control. Talent matters. Intelligence matters. Opportunity certainly matters. But when you study high-value individuals across business, leadership, and entrepreneurship, one trait consistently rises above the rest: discipline. Discipline governs behavior. Discipline protects reputation. Discipline guards opportunity. And one of the clearest signals that a man lacks discipline is when he is constantly chasing women. This is not about relationships, marriage, or the healthy pursuit of companionship. High-value individuals respect relationships deeply. Family, loyalty, and partnership are pillars of strong leadership. What we are talking about is obsession, the man who cannot control his impulses, the man whose conversations constantly revolve around women, the man who prioritizes attention and validation over responsibility and focus. High-value individuals recognize this pattern early, and they make a simple decision. They walk away, because history has already shown us how this story ends. When lust overrides logic, one of the most dangerous forces in human decision-making is impulse. When impulse takes control, logic disappears. When logic disappears, judgment collapses. And when judgment collapses, people lose everything they have worked decades to build. We have seen this pattern repeated across industries, across generations, and across levels of power. Consider the example of Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods was one of the most dominant athletes in the history of sports. He built an empire not only through golf, but through endorsements, partnerships, and brand power. At the height of his career, his net worth and earning potential were approaching levels that few athletes had ever reached. Then scandal erupted. The divorce that followed cost him an estimated $500 million in lost endorsements, settlements, and long-term opportunities. His reputation took years to recover. Now consider President Bill Clinton. Clinton possessed immense political skill. He was one of the most charismatic leaders of his generation and a master communicator. Yet a lack of impulse control led to scandal that nearly removed him from the presidency. An entire administration was placed at risk because of one failure in discipline. Or look at Jeff Bezos. One of the most brilliant business minds in modern history, the founder of Amazon, built one of the most powerful companies ever created. Yet his personal decisions surrounding an affair resulted in a divorce that transferred roughly $40 billion in wealth. $40 billion. The amount is almost impossible to comprehend, yet it happened. And then there's David Petraeus. Petraeus was not just a military leader, he was one of the most respected strategic minds in national security, a 4-star general. Later, the director of the CIA. His downfall came not from military strategy or foreign adversaries. It came from a relationship that compromised his position and led to his resignation. When you examine these stories, the pattern becomes clear. These were not weak men. These were not unintelligent men. These were not unsuccessful men. These were powerful men who lacked impulse control in one critical area of their lives, and that weakness cost them dearly. Why high-value individuals pay attention to this high-value individuals study patterns. They observe behavior. They analyze character. They recognize warning signs before problems appear. One of the earliest warning signs of a potential partner or associate is an obsession with women. If a man talks about women constantly, the conversation is revealing something deeper about his priorities. It reveals where his focus lives. High-value individuals operate differently. They spend their time discussing ideas, strategies, growth, opportunities, and solutions. Their conversations revolve around business, learning, leadership, and value creation. When someone repeatedly steers conversations toward women, dating stories, conquest, or validation from others, experienced leaders notice something immediately. His focus is misplaced, and misplaced focus leads to misplaced decisions. The real risk in business relationships. The issue is not moral judgment. The issue is risk. Business relationships require trust. Trust requires discipline. If a man cannot control his impulses in his personal life, it raises an important question. What happens when money enters the picture? What happens when confidential information is involved? What happens when pressure builds and temptation appears? Self-control is not selective. It is a character trait that influences every decision. A man who cannot control himself in one area often cannot control himself in others, and that is where the real danger appears. Because when someone is seeking validation, they often begin using the people around them as tools. Your success becomes a story to impress someone. Your business becomes a bragging point. Your deals become conversation pieces. Your secrets become leverage, not because he hates you, but because he wants attention. When validation becomes more important than loyalty, many people assume betrayal comes from anger or resentment. In reality, betrayal often comes from insecurity. The desire to impress someone can be stronger than the desire to protect a partnership. When a man is seeking validation, he begins using whatever resources are available to elevate his image. That might include sharing information he should keep private. It might include exaggerating involvement in projects. It might include revealing details that were meant to remain confidential. All of this happens because he is trying to hold someone's attention. High-value individuals understand this dynamic. They recognize that someone seeking validation will eventually prioritize approval over loyalty. And that creates risk. The test high-value individuals use. There's a simple test many experienced leaders use before entering business partnerships. It involves one straightforward question. Does this person talk about women more than he talks about work? If the answer is yes, that is a signal worth paying attention to. It does not mean the person lacks intelligence. It does not mean they lack talent. It means their priorities may not be aligned with long-term discipline, and discipline is the foundation of sustained success. Many brilliant people fail because brilliance without discipline is unstable. The power of controlled focus. One of the defining traits of high-value individuals is controlled focus. They are selective about where they place their attention. They guard their time. They guard their energy. They guard their reputations. They understand that success requires consistent, disciplined behavior over long periods of time. Impulse-driven individuals often move from distraction to distraction. Their energy is scattered. Their focus shifts constantly. Disciplined individuals move differently. They concentrate on building something meaningful. They protect what they are building, and they surround themselves with people who operate with the same mindset. Ancient wisdom still applies long before modern business books, leadership seminars, or corporate strategy sessions existed. Ancient wisdom already understood the importance of self-control. One passage captures this principle clearly. A man without self-control is like a city with broken walls. Imagine a city in ancient times with no protective walls. It would be vulnerable to every threat. Anyone could enter. Anyone could take what they wanted. There would be no protection, no security, no stability. That image perfectly describes a person who lacks discipline. Without internal boundaries, every impulse enters freely. Every temptation gains access. Every distraction becomes a potential threat. High-value individuals understand that self-control is the wall protecting everything they have built. Protecting your circle. One of the responsibilities of leadership is choosing the right people to surround yourself with. Your circle influences your outcomes. Your partnerships influence your reputation. Your associates influence your opportunities. High-value individuals take this responsibility seriously. They evaluate character before talent. They observe behavior before making commitments. They understand that character determines how someone behaves when pressure appears. Talent might attract opportunity. Character determines whether opportunity survives. Discipline over charisma. One of the biggest mistakes people make in business is confusing charisma with reliability. Charismatic individuals often attract attention easily. They speak well. They entertain conversations. They create excitement. But charisma does not equal discipline. Some of the most disciplined individuals in the world are quiet, focused, and consistent rather than flashy. High-value individuals look beyond charm and personality. They ask deeper questions. Does this person keep commitments? Do they respect boundaries? Do they show discipline in their personal life? Do they demonstrate focus in their professional life? These questions reveal more about long-term reliability than charm ever could. Building a life that cannot be destroyed by impulse. The goal for high-value individuals is not simply to achieve success. The goal is to build success that lasts. Sustained success requires structure, discipline, and intentional behavior. It requires the ability to say no to distractions. It requires the strength to resist short-term gratification in favor of long-term achievement. Many people focus on building wealth. High-value individuals focus on building character because character protects wealth. Character protects reputation. Character protects opportunity. Without discipline, success becomes fragile. With discipline, success becomes durable. The final principle. Every successful person eventually reaches moments where temptation appears. That temptation might come in the form of money, power, attention, or validation. The individuals who sustain success are those who have built internal discipline strong enough to withstand those moments. They protect their focus. They guard their reputation. They choose partnerships carefully. And they surround themselves with people who operate with the same level of discipline. High-value individuals understand a simple principle. Never trust broken walls. Never invest behind broken walls. Never build partnerships behind broken walls. Instead, choose people who demonstrate discipline, integrity, and self-control. Because discipline protects everything. And when discipline leads the way, success has a foundation strong enough to last. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter, JEROLDJAX, on Facebook, Gerald Action Jackson and Zone of Action. Check out the website, GeraldJackson.com. Happiness starts with you. Not with your relationship, not with your job, not with your money, but with you in the zone of action.